Well, brothers and sisters, welcome to our program. Pro-life leader Frank Pavone here of Priests for Life. We're delighted to have you with us, and we're delighted to have our guest with us today, a longtime friend and ally in this great cause of life, Peter Breen. And he has an interesting history. But Peter, welcome to Priests for Life, and good to have you with us.
Thank you.
We have been participating today, and we will again tomorrow, in leaders of our meetings with leaders of other pro-life organizations, our colleagues in the movement. We want to tell the audience a little bit about what you do. Friends, Peter is the head of litigation for the Thomas More Society. And if you're a pro-life activist, you're familiar with that name. You know that he defends, together with his team, the peaceful, prayerful First Amendment activities of pro-life people across this nation, so many of whom are unjustly persecuted and prosecuted. And in fact, Peter has been very much involved in helping those pro-lifers who were recently pardoned by President Trump. He's going to tell us about that. And also, you served in the Illinois state legislature. That's not a friendly place for pro-lifers. And you nevertheless became the floor leader for the Republicans in the House. And you can tell us a little bit about that whole experience too. So thanks for everything you've done over the years, and let us know the latest from Thomas More.
Sure. And we are, we've now been working for 25 years in the pro-life movement for the, really starting with the activists.
Yes.
And so that has always been our mission and focus. During the Democratic administrations, President Obama, President Biden, especially these last two, the Department of Justice has weaponized the FACE Act and other related acts against our people. Back in 2010, 2011, they were trying to use the FACE Act to stop sidewalk counseling outside of abortion facilities on the theory that a person taking some literature and having a 15, 20-second conversation was obstructing the entrance to an abortion facility.
And that's what the act, of course, prohibits, right? In other words, it's trying to provide a smooth glide path, right, into the killing center.
Well,
no obstruction, no intimidation, nothing.
Right. Well, that was their argument. But of course, the First Amendment allows you to stand in the public right of way and communicate. And what was perverse about this was they said, well, sometimes you'd have longer conversations. In other words, the person is there in a car, and they want to hear about their options. They want to hear their alternatives. Imagine this. The more successful your First Amendment advocacy, the more you were allegedly violating the FACE Act. So
because you're engaging you're actually getting them interested.
Yes. So really, and so that was something. We were successful then in winning a case in Denver, Colorado, and it was really a lot at stake for the sidewalk counseling movement across the country. We were able to beat them in 2012, and we actually didn't have any trouble, didn't have much trouble at all with the Obama DOJ in the second term, because we whooped them, we did it publicly, we caused them a real embarrassment. Now we fast forward to Biden.
Yeah.
Who's the first person he prosecutes or that gets brought to trial? Mark Houck. The Catholic father, great men's ministry leader in the Philadelphia area. And they send 25 heavily armed federal agents to his door, nearly break the thing down, bring him out at 7 o'clock in the morning. His children are just distraught, and they want to make an example of Mark. Mark was a sidewalk counselor, and he was involved in a sidewalk scuffle with a very vulgar, nasty man.
That's right. It was nasty to Mark's child.
Yes, Mark had his firstborn son with him. This wonderful, holy young man, and this guy was using just profanity. You don't even want to just take the worst profanity you can think of, multiply it by 10.
Right.
Terrible guy. And so got into a scuffle. The guy wouldn't move, and Mark, defended himself. Well, the DOJ was going to make him an example because if they could make sidewalk counselors scared and embolden these abortion escorts so that they could get real aggressive with our people. So imagine a world where the abortion escorts can come up in our people's faces, get up in their grill, yell at them, maybe do a little light pushing, and if you do anything in response, federal felon.
You're the bad guy.
Felon.
Yeah. So, well, this is what I told pro-life activists all over the country. I said they didn't do that to Mark Houck because of Mark Houck. They did that to Mark Houck because of us. They're targeting us. They're trying to make us intimidated from going out there.
And that was that was a huge thing. We had a 10-year felony at risk. I got to tell you, I didn't sleep. It was so. I've been doing this for a long time, a couple decades now. But even then, I mean, I just so cared for Mark and his beautiful wife, Ryan Marie, and their wonderful children.
Yeah.
I did not, I mean, this was one of those, there are some cases where you know you're going to win, there's some cases you know you're going to lose.
Yeah.
This one was a jump ball. And it had to be tried to a jury of 12 jurors in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So that's a real mixed bag. You've got the city of Philadelphia, you've got some very liberal suburbs. But those folks came in and we were able to put a compelling case to them and beat the DOJ. I mean, unanimous
It was a
jury
victory.
verdict,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And you know, those guys, they've got a 97-ish% win rate
Yeah.
in the DOJ. We beat them. I mean, incredible case. And we didn't have any more trouble from Biden against a sidewalk counselor
Okay.
for the remainder of his term. But where did we get into trouble? You know, the folks that are doing the sit-ins. You know, our traditional rescues. I mean, which
Yes.
is the reason that the FACE Act was put into place. They wanted to stop us from rescuing.
All completely peaceful activity, we should
Right.
point out. You're
Yeah, I mean, the
sitting
same as
there
sitting at a lunch counter.
passively. Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the 60s, they were sitting at lunch counters.
Yeah.
We here are sitting at abortion facilities. Now, look, what is it? Is it trespassing? Yes.
Yes.
What is trespassing? A minor misdemeanor. No one's hurt. And nowadays, I mean, frankly, when you look at what some of these prosecutors are doing in these jurisdictions where they don't even prosecute crime, my goodness, minor trespass? And so that's even at the federal level. First offense is supposed to be max 6 months. It's a misdemeanor. It's a minor thing. Normally, the feds just don't bother. And, you know, and they didn't bother under President Trump in his first administration. You know, the Republican administrations don't do the ticky-tack stuff. And what federal prosecutor gets up to go, I want to go throw some pro-lifers in jail over a minor misdemeanor? I mean, they've got drug lords and, I mean, other really bad people to go prosecute. Well, you know, this time, one of Biden's guys, a guy named Sanjay Patel, he wrote an article saying we should apply the Conspiracy Against Rights statute, which was invented it was enacted in 1870
KKK.
by the KKK. Yes,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're literally, you know, beating people, killing people for exercising the right to vote.
Yeah.
I mean, horrible precedent. But that is why you see, you know, clients of ours, you know, Lauren Handy being in prison for almost 5 years, you know,
Yeah.
sentenced, you know, senior citizens 2.5 years in a federal penitentiary. I mean, and their medical needs are not necessarily met. You know, they're being threatened. Horrible things happening. And so that was a real injustice. You know, we fought hard at the district court level. We actually, there's a case, you know, we had 3 major cases with multiple defendants. You know, DC was an old school rescue and they brought the chains out. It was a little more aggressive, but you know, look, here's the thing. If you think you're committing a federal felony, you don't live stream it to Facebook.
Right.
I mean, come on. And so these folks were peaceful. They just, you know, they were, you know, swept up in the spirit and they just wanted to make their point. And instead of, you know, getting the slap on the wrist, the misdemeanor, they get the book thrown at them. And so that was, you know, that began this issue. We had another case in Tennessee with, you know, a number of people very peaceably sitting in the hallway, and they didn't just prosecute the folks sitting in front of the door. They prosecuted the people who were filming them, but not blocking. They prosecuted Paul Vaughn, our client, who actually left.
Who left?
Yeah, the cops said, hey, the place is about to open.
Yeah.
Anybody that wouldn't want to get arrested, go ahead and get out. And so Paul goes out and he does media interviews. And so he is prosecuted for daring to speak in support.
You know, Peter, you know these folks. I know most of the 23 that were pardoned by President Trump. For decades, we prayed together. These are some of the most prayerful, spiritual, God-loving, country-loving people that I've ever met in my life. Right? And I'm sure you can say the same thing.
Totally selfless people.
These are people are saints. And to see this kind of persecution, you must have heard me tell the story over the years that after Bill Clinton signed this FACE Act, okay, so we're talking about Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances law signed in 1994, plus this conspiracy against rights from 1870, you said, right? Okay, all right. But as far as FACE specifically, I visited Mother Teresa in Calcutta the month after Clinton signed the FACE law. And I explained it to her. And you know what she said to me? And by the way, he signed that law 3 months after that famous speech of Mother Teresa at the National Prayer Breakfast, where she condemned abortion, and the Clintons were there all embarrassed.
Right, she got after him.
Everyone was applauding in the room except them, right? So, and I explained the face law to Mother Teresa. I said, yes, it's peaceful people going in front of clinics trying to take the women away from there. You know what she said to me? Father Frank, if we had that law here in India, I would have been arrested many times. Because I go to the clinics and I take the women by the arm and I pull them away so that we could bring them to our sisters and help them and their babies. So, I mean, if Mother Teresa, by her own admission, would have gotten jailed, that says a lot about this law, right? About how ridiculous it is.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, the pro-life movement is a huge movement. Millions of people involved. And the folks who go into the clinics, a very small group. But they have had in this particular instance, because of the overreaction by the Biden administration, they became a cause célèbre for the country.
Yes.
It was actually very interesting because you sit there and go, this is 23 people.
Right.
And you've got millions
of pro-lifers. The movement is
doing
vast.
Things. Yeah,
right,
I mean,
right,
running
right.
the pregnancy centers, praying at the clinics, everything else in between. But this really captured the attention of the country. It was part of the presidential campaign, which was incredible.
It was.
I mean, President Trump talking about, especially Paulette Harlow. Her story really gripped him personally.
It did. I was with him in June at Ralph Reed's conference, and he's standing there talking about, the first day I get in, I'm going to have the DOJ look at these cases, and there's people sitting in prison. Paulette, you're one of them. And he literally says in his talk, hold on, Paulette, we're coming to get you. We're going to get you out of the Biden gulags, he called it.
It was incredible. Just having that attention to it was wonderful. And I mean, look, I know, there are a lot of issues even within the pro-life movement, but this one, this issue that dealt with just these 23 people really galvanized a lot of folks. And I think it's a wonderful. It was something that President Trump was able to do. He was able to do quickly, right away. Obviously, we've got lots of other things. We've got to, we reinstated the Mexico City policy, and we're looking at defunding Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
But it was great that he put a human face, especially these poor senior citizens' faces.
People in their 70s, yeah. Peter, you mentioned to our leadership meeting today that we're both involved in that not only were they pardoned, but there was an additional dimension to this. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, they are the Department of Justice now is seeking to vacate the convictions. So normally, when you pardon, the conviction stays.
Right. In other words, here they were convicted of this, but we pardoned them, and now they're free. Okay.
So you mostly get rid of the taint of the conviction.
Yeah.
At the same time, if it stays on the books, well, someone could at least say you were a convicted felon.
Okay.
Well, I've been pardoned. Well,
right.
And so now the DOJ has taken the extraordinary step of seeking to send these cases back from the appellate, because we're up on appeal, we're fighting this, we were fighting this. Well, now they want to send it right back to the trial court and say we are vacating the whole thing.
So this is
never happened.
This is at the initiative not of these pro-life people, but of the Department of Justice under President Trump.
Yes. In fact,
and now under Pam Bondi.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're so glad to now have an attorney general who actually respects the law.
Yeah.
It's been a while, and so that is an extraordinary step that they've taken, and certainly for our clients, they're very, very thankful for that. So it's essentially
awesome.
as if it had never happened.
Yeah, like it never happened.
Right. Write it off the books. And now look, I think we as a movement have got to figure out how do we make sure this doesn't happen down the road, and are there other ways to maybe look at that and be creative in addressing it. But it is something that. I got to tell you, if you were on the other side, you spent all this time and effort and attention putting these folks in prison and pillorying them and all this, and it all gets wiped away with fanfare, and they're coming to prayer breakfast. And
well, that's right. We're taping this on the day of the prayer breakfast. He had Paulette Harlow there and pointed her out again.
And
it's beautiful.
Wonderful. Yeah, and that's a good way if you're going to do it. I mean, tell those prosecutors, don't bother with this.
He knows how to do that, doesn't he? President Trump knows how to take an action and make it into all the appropriate fanfare.
Right.
And
well, I mean, he's done quite so. I mean, just the speed of his activity has been incredible. Agree or disagree with all the particular moves? Wow.
Right. What a contrast from Biden, right?
Sure.
The absent, beach-loving president. Here's the thing too. Not only did he pardon these people, but he also issued an executive order regarding the FACE law to restrict its, really to stop its unjust enforcement, right?
So essentially, they're not going to enforce it unless somebody is doing something violent.
Right,
And
okay.
and then, frankly,
There are already other laws about that. You go
sure.
into a bomb a clinic or you
right,
shoot
yeah.
someone.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, you sit there and go, well, no one's shedding a tear if you are bombing a clinic. And we're sitting there like, why would you do that? Don't do that. That's not right.
Yeah.
We don't. Those tactics nobody supports
No.
in the movement.
No.
Not in the proper movement. So, it's really one of those things where, to your point, it's essentially not going to be used in the way it had been previously.
Right.
I mean, look, what was the other side doing after the Dobbs release? They're firebombing our pregnancy centers. They're vandalizing our churches, and they get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's only our people who peaceably protest who are the ones being prosecuted.
And technically, under FACE, that's a violation too, right? You do harm to a pregnancy center medical clinic or a pregnancy center. That too is, or to a church.
Or to a church. And we haven't seen any of the church prosecutions have not really started. We've seen just a handful of the pregnancy centers. There has been a promise by the new DOJ that they are going to look again at those cases.
Good.
And so that hopefully will generate things, because we have clients who hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage. I mean, your whole center's firebombed.
That's just,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, we're out of time for this program, but we'll have to have you back as these things continue to unfold. Where can people find you online?
Sure. We're at thomasmoresociety.org, and More is with one O, thomasmoresociety.org.
Thanks, Peter Breen, for everything.
Thank you.
Great working with you always. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your attention. Go to Thomas More Society and learn about all these things, support all this work, and we'll have Peter back and we'll continue praying for his work and for the people he represents. Thank you all for what you do. God bless you.
Hello, I'm Evangelist Alveda King. Our team at Priest for Life produces many books, pamphlets, audio and video presentations, and other resources to help you protect the unborn. I invite you today to visit our online store at ProLifeProducts.org and see the many helpful resources you can get for yourself, your pro-life group, and your church. God bless you.